On today's episode of Women's Soccer World, we're going to talk about one subject, three words: Tobin Heath transfers. We're going to have some fun starting right now. What is happening, my friends? Welcome back to the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I'm Bryce, and this is another episode of Women's Soccer World, where we talk all about the world of women's soccer and all the glorious things going on within it. We've got another great show for you today, but first I want to invite you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying videos like these and would like to get in on the fandom. Getting into what today's episode is going to be about, earlier on this week, Jeff Kassouf, who is an industry professional in the world of women's soccer and one of the most reliable journalists that I can imagine. He works for The Equalizer. He published an article saying that Tobin Heath was essentially weighing her options in Europe to play for this next upcoming club season. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the club seasons over in Europe are going to be starting here within the next couple of weeks. So, in this article, Jeff Kassouf said that Tobin Heath was trying to choose a club and Champions League was a priority. So then the speculation started to ensue online and in my own head as well, because I am a fan, of course. And I wanted to make a list and kind of speculate a little bit and have a little bit of fun as to where Tobin Heath could land next for this upcoming season. Will she go over to Europe? Will she want to play for a club in the NWSL? If she does go to Europe, where will she play? Let's kind of go through each and every one of these teams and what I think will be likely landing spots. There's a video I made earlier this week about Kristen Press being traded to Angel City FC and signing with them that kind of prompted this video. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, I'll link that in the video right now so you can check it out and then come back to this one. So I've narrowed this down to 6 different options. We'll go through each of them one by one and talk about the likelihood, the pros and cons, and why Tobin Heath might want to land there next. So we're going to start off with Olympique Lyonnais. So the main reason why I think Olympique Lyonnais could be a landing spot for Tobin Heath is for a couple of reasons. One, Olympique Lyonnais is going to be playing in the Champions League again this year, and per Jeff Kassouf's article, Tobin Heath sounds like she is making the Champions League a priority, making that one of the natural landing spots. Plus, with Olympique Lyonnais being historically one of the most dominating teams in France, she will have likely have gained a trophy if she does join that team, whether or not it be a league trophy, whether or not it be a Champions League trophy. If she goes there, she's got a very high chance to win. Plus, with Tobin Heath being a world-class talent, she could get into the mix, get into the depth chart, and potentially have some good link-up with Ada Hegerberg. I don't know how likely this option is. In fact, I would say out of all the options I'm going to discuss today, it's my least likely approach, but you never know. I put on this list because Tobin also has some familiarity in France. She has played in the French league earlier on in her career, so for those reasons, Olympique Lyonnais is an option on my list, which is actually a really nice segue into another option that I considered, which is a Tobin Heath return to PSG. PSG is coming off of a really big league title win. They finally dethroned Olympique Lyonnais for the first time in almost a quarter century in that league. However, PSG has been kind of undergoing some woes this offseason because they have lost some really big talent in their squad, which it's pretty natural for teams like that after winning a big title to go ahead and lose some players. That's just the natural churn and order of things in sports. Look at any sport you can imagine and look at the team before and after they won a title and you'll see a lot of change. In this case, Tobin Heath has a history with PSG. Like I said earlier, she spent a few seasons earlier on in her career with them, a couple of seasons with Lindsay Horan, who also played over at PSG with Tobin Heath. So Tobin Heath is familiar with the team, she knows the area, and she can make a difference in the squad because they've been losing a little bit of talent. Plus, I would really, really love to see Tobin Heath have some good link up with Marie Antoinette Kaitoto, who is just a powerhouse in Division 1 Arkema. She would be playing in Champions League football considering that PSG won the Division 1 Arkema title last season, so it kind of checks off all the boxes. Right, so those are the clubs that in France I think Tobin could land at. However, we're going to transition over to England. Given the fact that Tobin Heath played at Manchester United last season in the FAWSL, she's got some familiarity with England. She got her feet wet in the league. She had a good start to the season up until she, of course, sustained her injury and was out for the rest of the year. Considering that 3 teams in the FAWSL made the Champions League, that being Arsenal, Manchester City, and Chelsea, I think all 3 of them are actually likely landing spots for Tobin Heath, but for different reasons. I'll start off with Chelsea in this case. So Chelsea just won the FAWSL last season. Since they're coming off of a title win, they've got a great team, and they're also going to be playing Champions League tournament this year, which, as we've established already a few times in this video, Tobin Heath, one of her priorities is playing in the Champions League. By playing for Chelsea, she would be given that opportunity. Plus, with how good Chelsea's been playing, with how much talent they've retained and added in the form of Lauren James and a few other players, this team is a surefire powerhouse for this season, and Tobin could come in and make a difference in that roster. Having said that, this team has so much talent behind it, especially in the forward line and in the midfield, that I think Tobin would play in this roster. I think she could break into it. However, I just don't see how much of a need Chelsea would have for her. Between Sam Kerr and Fran Kirby having an excellent partnership up top, a lot of times, if I'm not mistaken, Chelsea would kind of play a two-striker with those two. I question how much they would need Tobin on the right or left side of the field. Then again, it would be really, really entertaining to see a team with Sam Kerr, Fran Kirby, Pernille Harder, and Tobin Heath on the pitch all at the same time. I mean, the amount of goals that would come out of Chelsea would be just exponentially insane. Tobin, she's got this sort of creativity that, as I've said before, no other player in the world really has. There's nobody like Tobin, and nobody does what she does to the degree that she does. So I think she could make a difference at Chelsea, and she would play a lot. It's never a mistake to add talent, so I wouldn't count Chelsea out of the equation just yet. All right, so moving into the next English team that I think Tobin can land in, Manchester City. So if you guys recall, Manchester City suffered a really big injury blow to one of their star wingers at the end of last season. Chloe Kelly ended up injuring her ACL, and it looks like from the injury, it was a 6 to 12 month timetable that she would be out, meaning Chloe Kelly would not return to the pitch until minimum October, when Chloe Kelly would be able to return to the pitch and be ready, but that's a minimum. So given that, Manchester City have a huge gap that they would need to fill, and Tobin Heath would be absolutely perfect to fill that gap. Plus, her and Ellen White have some great link up. There's a lot of other offensive tools that Manchester City has at their disposal that Tobin Heath could link up quite nicely with. With Manchester City coming that close to winning the title last season, they're going to be very hungry once more to go after the title again this season. And how do you do that? You got to go out and get talent, and you've got to play out of your minds. If getting Tobin Heath could be the difference between them getting a title and not getting a title, why not go out and get her, especially considering the fact that they lost out on Sam Mewis and Abby Dahlkemper in the offseason, and also Rose Lavelle too. Like I said, never a mistake to add talent, and Tobin Heath being added to this Manchester City roster would be adding talent. With Manchester City being in the Champions League this season, it would give Tobin the opportunities that she is looking for, thus it being a likely landing spot for her as well. Next up, Arsenal. I think Tobin Heath could land at Arsenal for a multitude of reasons. It seems like Arsenal have lost a little bit of attacking talent this offseason in the form of Jill Roord going over to Wolfsburg, and then also Danielle Van de Donk going over to Olympique Lyonnais in the offseason. Although those two positions aren't really where Tobin plays, they're still losing some attacking power in general and need to fill in those gaps. Lisa Evans going over to West Ham this offseason, they're losing out on another winger and thus need to kind of add a little bit more depth into their forward line, and Tobin Heath could do that quite nicely. Plus, Tobin Heath pairing up with Vivianne Miedema and Caitlin Ford, that would be a really, really fun combination to see. Vivianne Miedema, I've gushed about many times over my last however many videos in the world of WOSO, but Vivianne Miedema is a scoring machine, and who better to help her out in that capacity than Tobin Heath, who is a winging assist machine who can get the ball forward and create a ton of chances, and Vivianne Miedema can put away those chances, so that would be a really fun partnership overall. Plus, I would love to see her play with Caitlin Ford, because I think Caitlin Ford is a very underrated forward player in the entire grand scheme of WOSO. Caitlin Ford, to me, is I'll call her silent but deadly. She's very deadly on the pitch, but no one really talks about her, I think, as much as people should, because Caitlin Ford is just great. Plus, with Arsenal just barely making Champions League last season, they're going to be wanting to make a push this season to continue to stay in the Champions League for multiple years in a row. It gives the club a lot more stability. It gives the club a lot more notoriety. Plus, it can help Vivianne Miedema make a case to stay at Arsenal, given that they play well, because Vivianne Miedema's contract will expire at the end of this season, if my math is right. I say that Arsenal is probably the most likely of the three FAWSL teams to pick up Tobin Heath. Arsenal is going to be playing in the Champions League this season, and therefore it would give Tobin Heath the opportunity that she's looking for. Moving into my last two options of where Tobin Heath could land, I'm going to be shifting over to America into the NWSL. The next team that I think Tobin Heath could land at is San Diego FC. So San Diego FC is going to be a new and up-and-coming team in the NWSL starting in 2022. They are an expansion team headed up by Jill Ellis as one of their presidents, and then they just hired Casey Stoney to be their head coach for their inaugural season. For those of you who don't know, Casey Stoney was the head coach of Manchester United in the FAWSL up until last season, but she left to go to the NWSL. So if Tobin Heath were to play in San Diego, she would be reunited with Casey Stoney. And from what I understand, they had a positive relationship. And plus, Casey Stoney is an outstanding head coach. So Tobin Heath playing under her, I think, would be a very smart partnership. Not only that, but Tobin Heath seems to have taken a liking to the West Coast in the States since she's been playing with the Portland Thorns. A couple more reasons why I say San Diego is a likely landing spot for Tobin Heath. A little bit of backstory. Early on this week, I made a video about Kristen Press being signed as the first Angel City FC player. I'll link that video up around somewhere in here so you guys can watch it if you're curious. Leading up to that, Kristen Press and Tobin Heath were both acquired by Racing Louisville last year in the NWSL expansion draft. Since then, a lot of speculation has been found as to where Kristen Press and Tobin Heath will play beyond that because no one thought they would ever play for Racing Louisville. Kristen Press has now gone to Angel City, which prompted the video that I just talked about. And then now it begs the question, where will Tobin Heath play next? A lot of people are saying Angel City FC. However, given what Angel City FC had to trade to Racing Louisville to get Kristen Press, it doesn't leave them with a ton of ammo to go ahead and trade for Tobin Heath as well, unless they have the proper amount of allocation money to do so without giving up too much. So with Tobin Heath being fond of the West Coast, San Diego being a new up-and-coming expansion team, Casey Stoney, her former coach, being the head coach of that team, it kind of starts to create some connections. Her clothing company, Re-Inc., also is headquartered in the Los Angeles area. San Diego is obviously close to Los Angeles. Give Tobin Heath a new start with a new club to build a new legacy. For all those reasons, I think San Diego FC could be a likely landing spot for Tobin Heath in the future. Now, the last likely option, I think, and this is going to be a wild card option, there is a chance, I think, that Tobin Heath could actually join two teams. She could join an FAWSL team for this upcoming season, and at the end of the FAWSL season, she could join an NWSL club and keep continuing playing. Here's how that would work. The FAWSL season ends up starting in late August, early September. That season ends in May. Hypothetically speaking, Tobin Heath, right after the FAWSL season ended, could end up signing with an NWSL team because in the NWSL, teams usually don't start playing till April, May. So right when the FAWSL season is ending, the NWSL season is beginning. So hypothetically speaking, Tobin Heath, if she wanted to, could, I want to place an emphasis on the word could, join an FAWSL team, leave as a free agent, go ahead and sign with an NWSL club, most likely San Diego, and then just continue playing for the rest of the NWSL season. I think that that's not a highly likely option, but there are a couple of reasons why I think that is an option. One, Tobin Heath has sat out a lot within the last year with the couple of injuries that she sustained between her knee and ankle injury, both of which were quite major injuries. So Tobin Heath is going to be probably itching to start playing again as soon as possible. And as often as possible. Tobin Heath is about 33 years of age by the time the next NWSL season starts. She will be turning 34, which means she's approaching the twilight of her career at some point. Meaning that I would imagine she'd want to play as often as she possibly can to get in as much games as she possibly can to enjoy the game that she loves. Again, total speculation, but so is this entire episode. However, the caveat here is I say that it's probably not the most likely of the options I've listed out in this video because of the fact that if she were to hypothetically start playing in the FAWSL season in September and play all the way to the conclusion of the NWSL season, she would be playing over a year, week to week to week. And if you're playing that often, it increases the likelihood of injuries, and she would likely have to sit out at least a few games throughout both of her seasons because that is a lot of stress on an athlete's body to play that many games. Plus, if she ends up playing Champions League in the club in the FAWSL that she goes to, that would add in more games. And the body can only take so much. Running can take so much abuse before it starts to just kind of tire and break down a little bit. It happens all the time in world football. So I think it's an option that could happen. Will it likely happen? I doubt it. If she only elects to play for an NWSL team, it means she has to wait all the way up until April to start playing football again. Since she has sat out a lot within the last year, I can imagine she's going to be itching to play. Plus, she wants to play Champions League football. She doesn't have too many more chances to do so. So the time to strike the iron is hot, and it's right now. And that, my friends, rounds out all of the options that I think Tobin Heath could land in. What is my pick out of all those options? I think that Tobin Heath is going to end up playing for Arsenal this upcoming football season. The prospect of that is just so intriguing. My friends, now I ask you, out of all those options, where do you think Tobin Heath will land next season? Or are there options that I didn't mention where you think Tobin could end up, and also specify why? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Women's Soccer World. Once again, thanks so much for joining me. Like, comment, and subscribe to get in on more of these videos, join in on the fandom, and have some fun. I'll link some other videos that you might be interested in this video right now. This has been the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a great day.